You've probably watched the opening of Red Dead Redemption 100 times, but almost nobody notices that the first 10 minutes quietly explain the entire game. Not through dialogue, not through cutscenes, through tiny details hidden in the background. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. The very first thing the game shows you is a train. Doesn't sound important, right? But in the world of Red Dead Redemption, trains represent modernization, civilization, the death of the Wild West. John Marston isn't riding into freedom. He's literally being carried into a future where people like him no longer belong. And Rockstar makes this painfully obvious in the background. Look outside the windows, telegraph poles, factories, industrial towns, replacing open land. The world is changing before John even speaks his first line. Now here's a detail most players completely miss. Nobody on the train really acknowledges John. The women gossip, the businessmen judge him, the preacher rambles about sin and punishment. John barely says anything. Why? Because the game wants you to feel like a ghost. The outlaw era is already dead, and John is basically a relic sitting in a modern world that's moving on without him. Even the camera frames him separately from everyone else. He's constantly isolated in shots. Rockstar was visually telling us, this man does not fit here anymore. And then there's the preacher. At first he sounds like random background noise, but listen carefully to what he says. He talks about judgment, sin, a man being unable to escape his past. That is literally John Marston's entire story. The craziest part? He even describes the government without directly naming it. The game disguises foreshadowing as ambient dialogue. Most players tune it out because it sounds natural, but Rockstar knew exactly what they were doing. By the time the game ends, that train conversation feels terrifyingly specific. John's outfit in the intro also tells a story. He doesn't dress like the polished government agents. He looks worn down, dusty, practical. But there's one subtle thing people overlook. John wears darker colors during the beginning of the game as the story progresses and you spend more time on the ranch with his family. The environments become warmer and brighter. It's symbolic. For a brief moment, John gets close to becoming a normal man. And then the game rips that away from him. When John steps off the train at Armadillo, notice how awkward he looks. Not dangerous, not legendary, just tired. That's intentional. Most Western stories introduce the hero as larger than life, but Rockstar Games does the opposite. John is introduced like a man at the end of his story, instead of the beginning, which secretly tells you something devastating. This isn't a rise to glory story. It's an execution delayed by a few hours. That's why the opening of Red Dead Redemption feels different from almost every other game intro ever made. It isn't just introducing a world, it's warning you. Every line of dialogue, every camera angle, every background detail quietly tells you that John Marston's fate was already sealed before the game even began. And the wild part is, most players never realize the ending was sitting right in front of them the entire time.
Welcome to Game 92.